Welcome back to the Elder Scrolls Total War, where, after trying to underhandedly utilize the Oblivion Crisis in their war against us, the shoe is now on the other foot for the Drez, who are under attack themselves. Meanwhile, here, in what's left of the lands of the Hlaalu, General Reller has taken Blacklight and now marches south to take the rest of the Hlaalu Empire and of Western Morrowind. And I'd really like this place too, Silgrad, because I want to push all the way up to the mountains, but I don't know, maybe I can negotiate that off of them. I wonder, if I tried to negotiate Silgrad off of them, how much would they demand in money? Alright, let's ask them to name their price first. 23k. Somehow that seems acceptable to me. I'll keep it in mind. That would only be like 1/3 of our current treasury, so that seems like a reasonable offer to me. Maybe I'll take that once I get this army down here and take Fort Virok, and then Silgrad will be in a more reasonable state. I think I'm going to take that deal. One thing that we do have to keep in mind, though, is that it is a little bit of a race for these imperial territories that have kind of divided into civil war. There is going to be a rush to take these places. And if we give Skyrim a whole boatload of money, they might just fund an army to run down here and take as much as possible before we can get there. And we kind of have our sights set on this prize right here. The first stage of that is Fort Kupter, which I don't think is going to fall into enemy hands anytime soon because of all this, you know, it has basically 4 full stack armies here. But we can't really be too careful. I think we should start forming an army for the preparation towards launching a campaign to the Imperial capital here. I'm sort of thinking, who better to lead this massive force, as far as this huge long-term campaign against the Imperial capital, who better to lead it than the useless Dagoth Rather with 0 command stars? What could possibly go wrong? So let's just kind of put him in Eberhard Castle here. And he's also a worse governor than Velos. Velos is just better in every way, but he's kind of busy at home. Let's just start training up an army here in Vivek and Eberhard Castle to go under the command of the most useless general in Dagoth history. Because Dagoth has faith. Maybe, I don't remember who it was who adopted this guy. I think it was like Dagoth, what was it? Turkey Nutella? Dagoth Turkey Nutella recruited this guy. Maybe Dagoth trusts Turkey Nutella's judgment, and this guy might have some hidden potential, and there's only one way to find out, and that is to send him into a trial by fire. Meanwhile, while he waits for his army to be trained, I'm thinking Rather can hang out here in Ebenhard Castle and learn a few things from Dagoth Velos about the art of war. Dagoth Turkey Nutella offers another commander up for adoption, Dagoth Vorin _. And you know what? Sure, why not? We could use another 1-star commander on our quest for the Imperial City. We're going to send him right down here to regroup with Rather here in Ebenhard Castle. Dagoth Fowls feels unappreciated, just kind of standing here on the bridge. Where is he? Yeah, defending the territory. But it looks like the Hlaalu have started moving their forces up north instead, since we're now threatening from the north as well. So let's move the spy in, see what we have to see. They've actually moved like all of their forces out of Heimlin. So if we had Ballista, we could take it this turn, but we don't. So it might take a couple turns, and they might get reinforcements, but their reinforcements are limited from what I can see. They only have a couple small stacks. So what do I have defending Milan? This is just a militia force, so I think my defense force in Milan is probably enough. 1 ash spawn, or like 1 full ash zombie unit. Sure, let's do it. Let's send the unappreciated feeling Fowls up to take Heimlin, the Hlaalu capital. We'll see how it feels about that. Fovan also feels unappreciated, but there's not really much I can do about that. I mean, I did make him, what was it, Grand Master of House Indoril? Where is he? There's Fovan. Yes, he's the Grand Master of House Indoril, so I'm not sure how he can feel unappreciated at this point. I guess maybe it's a worthless title, since we just kind of revived the house as a puppet of Dagoth Ur's force. Fovan feels that it's a sham. Like, why even revive House Indoril? Just make the 6th house the one and only house like it should be. Make 6th house the first house. That's his stance. The Horde arrives again. Where is this at? Are they back in my territory? By the way, the Horde down here is gone, and the Drez are moving up north again. So I'm not sure what happened with that. Hopefully it didn't go to attack the Argonians. Well, we happen to have a curate ready to go and check this out. Is this just droid again? Yeah, it's just General Droid again. He's just chilling out in my territory. He has nothing better to do. He probably realized after escaping from us that if he went back, he would just be executed, so he's just kind of wandering. He's like a Ronin Dremora at this point. And up north, how's this religion looking? 41%, still not quite there. I think Lord Dagoth, or Lord of Terror. There are 3 Dres armies here. One of them should be able to reach him as is. I can't quite tell though because I can't select them. Any of this army should be able to march out and reach him. This army can reach right up towards the border, and this one not quite as far. I think I'm going to move Lord Dagoth or Lord of Terror right up there within reach of 2 of the armies, but not the 3rd. And also just inside of Dres territory to kind of keep threatening them. The undead have pulled back from Archon, by the way. I don't know why, whether they were defeated or whether they just ran away. And necromancers are known to be fickle people, so you never know what they're thinking. Riller continues his march south into Lalu territory. Just being careful to avoid that road that leads through Skyrim territory there. We can't use that. Meanwhile, I guess I'll send, why not this guy, Dagoth Ilam, our curate, down here to check out Fort Kupter, while sending my diplomat on towards the Imperial capital to see what the situation is like up here. And the moment the Oblivionic Horde leaves Dres territory, this army, led by Methal Vabdas, oh, this was the guy that was up here. This is the weird name guy. He's just kind of redirected his forces to attack Thorn. We'll see how this works out. It looks like they have a smaller force. And these guys have some Argonian hunters. I'm not sure how good they are, but I imagine that they're probably pretty skilled. Well, they're actually not. I went down to Archon here to check out theirs. They're actually not. They only have 1 missile attack. So Vabdas, not wanting to waste his trip being called down south on a fruitless endeavor to fight off the Horde of Oblivion that just left on its own, he decides to go for a little slaving run on Thorn instead. In faction announcements, Dagoth Vaynor finally becomes the official Lord of Ebonheart. Gives him +2 authority, +3 law, +2 command, plus blah, 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 to chivalry, +1 to troop morale, +4 personal security, +15 tax collection. Aldous becomes Lord of Blacklight. Ooh, interesting. That's the guy who we left behind up here in Blacklight to take care of that situation in the north. And he gets a whole bunch of good stuff as well. Anybody else? No, that's those are the major ones for now. Tursk passes 51%. Cult of Dagoth. That means it's time to send the force. I think should hopefully be enough. And this settlement has no walls, so I guess we just attack it directly. Balance of forces seems evenly matched. This guy looks so cool. The Norse just all look really cool, but these are actually Skull, I think it said, on their faction, whatever, they're Rebel Skulls, so Skull Warriors, 1211, they seem pretty good. And then Skull Hunters, I wish they had images here to actually see the units, but I guess we'll see them in battle. Those have 7 missile attack, so they're quite powerful. Long-range missiles. Yeah, these Skull Hunters are quite good. And especially effective since we have no shields. Alright, kind of deployed in a situation to surround them. I'm going to send my weaker units in first to absorb those arrows from all sides at once. All of them just head in. All of you, please. Yes, thank you. In that direction. And then you as well. Send them down to sandwich the enemy in all directions. And simultaneously, oh, they're actually retreating to the back. That's a little bit smart. I'm going to send these guys around the back. Now, professional units can kind of march up slowly while the frontline units run. Are you running? You should really be running. Yeah, run please. Alright, now the cheap units coming in first should hopefully take the fire from the Skull Hunters. That would be ideal. At that point, the warriors, hunters, they're just kind of all mixed into the fray here. But yeah, these guys are going to have to get around the back pretty quickly. I should have probably sent the Ash Zombies around the back, now that I think about it, but kind of too late anyways. So I've got this 3-way surround coming in. That's going to disable most of the Skull Hunters. Simply, they do have 1 unit still here in the back that's enabled. That should be disabled as soon as these guys get around, but that's going to take them a long time. Yeah, I really should have sent the zombies. They are much faster. As you just continue to walk up towards the front, and I guess all these professional units can continue to walk towards the front as well. And why not you as well? Send the general in there. So we don't actually have the morale advantage since they're fighting in the square. So we don't really have much of anything going our way in this fight, to be honest. I'm not sure. This might go poorly. But we do need to get these guys around. I wish you would run faster. If they can get around and hit them in the back, that would definitely help us out. And yeah, for the time being, this first line of just kind of expendable corpus, just really there to wear out the defenders and make them tired, and then our professional troops should come in and fight them, which is why I'm worried about these guys being just free to fire. That's going to be hitting on our professional troops before we can actually get into the fray, and these guys are just way too slow in engaging, and they've actually stopped. Do not stop, please attack them. They do look so cool though. They got like wolf heads on. Or are they bear heads? They might be bear heads. I'm pretty sure they are bears. They're like bear hunters. What about the skull warriors? What do they look like? Not quite as impressive, but they've got their own little thing going for them. They got spiky helmets. Alright, finally these heavy swordsmen get in here to challenge the archers. They're gonna get, man, they get wrecked. Those archers are quite powerful. They took out the entire front line, but now they're in melee combat, so this should go better for us. And I think it's time to switch out. Let's send our professional soldiers into battle here and kind of pull back the less powerful ones. Oh, the enemy general died. Awesome. He went down quicker than I was expecting. But yeah, you can pull back at this point. You can pull back at this point. Let the professional troops handle it, and these guys can move back in as just kind of support afterwards. Now I think we have it under control. Defeat seems certain for the Skull Hunters and the Warriors. So yeah, our professional troops coming in there after they're tired has turned the tide of the battle here. I kind of like to get my general in on the action a little bit too, but I'm not sure he's got anywhere to squeeze himself through this here. Meanwhile, these Skull Warriors are wiping out these corpus pretty effectively. But they will not break, so they're going to be hung up there for a while until such time as, yeah, these Ashspawn heavy swordsmen in the rear are going to cut through these Skull Hunters before these Skull Warriors can cut through my corpus, and then they're going to hit them in the rear. In fact, I think they can do that right now. There's only one Skull Hunter left. Yep, there we go. We just cut straight through them and complete the surround. And then these guys are just standing there as well. You can, I don't know why you're not getting involved. Head in here, come on, join in on the fun. I just kind of messed around with the volume. I wonder, is the volume changing when I do that? Because I'm just changing the volume on my computer, and this game just works in weird ways. I'm pretty sure the game volume changes when I change my computer volume. Like in the recording software, which is just wacky. The Skull Tribes are fighting bravely, but it does not seem that it's going to be enough. As the corpus continue to pour in here, they did not even manage to take out these corpus before they got flanked. And they are just falling very quickly at this point. And here comes even more reinforcements. Yep, this is what their situation looks like now. It is not good. And I believe many of those still standing are actually Skull Hunters, not Warriors. So they're going to fall even more quickly than they would otherwise. Is that the last of them? I see a flag. There's one left. Oh, I clicked on him and I just teleported to the forest. There's a bunch of people cheering. What is this, though? It says there's still one person left. Okay, there we go. Now he's dead. Maybe he was in the middle of an animation or something. Garrus actually wins a heroic victory here. Interesting. That might be Garrus' first heroic victory here in Solstein. There it is. Tursk falls to us. And we'll just, it's 51% our religion. So we'll just occupy it. And send half of our priests, I think, onto the next territory. There we go. Next on the chopping block is Skull Village, which I think is going to need to be renamed, isn't it? Ooh, we can actually hire Skull mercenaries in this region. I just noticed. This is the first time I've actually seen the mercenary thing light up. Awesome. But he's just, Garrus is out here to build a watchtower. Do we hire them? How much do they cost? Upkeep is only 130. They're not really that expensive. They're expensive to hire in the first place a little bit, but not so much to maintain. You know what? Sure. Why not? Let's recruit some other units. That should be fun to have. And with that, Garrus's mercenary, or rather his retinue expands. He's now a mercenary captain. Having run a company of mercenaries himself, this man makes maintaining an army of sellswords a more efficient process. 10% discount on unit training costs, or unit training costs in general, not even just on mercenaries, and 10% bonus to cash gain from looting. Wow, that's a very good buff. I'm glad I recruited those mercenaries. Not that I generally loot anywhere, unfortunately. And this is actually quite good for his forces, because he needed some ranged units. As we saw, we were severely lacking in the last battle. Fortunately, I'm not sure they're going to do all that much in this region, since especially a Skull Village has 3 of those guys, so they still have ranged advantage, even with these mercenaries. I wonder if I can move into some other territories and recruit some mercs there as well. Meanwhile, a Daedric Witch has just kind of popped up. You only have a 66% chance. I guess I'll send Odros over there to try and burn her at the stake. Oh, I can just send an assassin. Okay, I'm gonna send him back. You know, I might as well get Irvin some work here. He came along for the ride and he's just had nothing to do, so he can assassinate this Daedric Witch. Perfect. Meanwhile, I have this diplomat, Girer. I may as well send him towards Windhelm. Ooh, Windhelm has a custom model. That's cool. You know, we just have to, knock on our neighbors' doors, say hi, offer a pie. And I don't think we really have anything against the Nords in particular, besides them being inferior to us and everything. Ooh, although if we come across these dark elf slave districts, or where they're living as a lower class, Dagoth might have a problem with that. It occurs to me that I really should have built a watchtower as I was sending Riller down. Where is he? There he is. But I didn't. So now I'm gonna have to send Aldous in 2 directions. Okay, Blacklight can do without him, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to, first of all, let's put him up here first. You can build a watchtower there, just to get some kind of eyes on the sea. And then move down here, and you can build another watchtower there. And he's just kind of going to go around in a U formation here and build watchtowers everywhere throughout Blacklight's territory. And what we see with our watchtowers first is not that promising for Skyrim. They just have a Daedric cultist chilling out over here. And I'm pretty sure this place, what is it called? Fort Castaw? I'm not sure I remember from Skyrim, but isn't this just that little rundown fort that was up over the snowy hills and it's filled with bandits or something? Or it might have even been like hedge mages, I don't remember. But that looks way bigger on the map than it did in Skyrim. Actually, I wonder when in the lore the cataclysm, whatever it was that caused the destruction of Winterhold, I wonder when that happened. I wonder if that's happened already in this universe. On his way towards the Imperial capital, Dralis, our diplomat, comes across Fort Nassau, which is occupied just by a bunch of rebels. Things are not looking good at all for the Imperial Legion. Here in the south, it looks like it could be that the Dres have just recently taken some of the Argonian territory here. Settlement Alton Coromont, whatever that is. But yeah, there's an Argonian rebel force just outside of it. It looks like they might have sent a bunch of forces down here to fight the Hordes of Oblivion, and the Hordes of Oblivion just ran off somewhere. Or maybe they even came down here, ransacked the Argonian city, and then the Dres followed up by destroying them and taking that settlement. I'm really not sure how this is working. Well, anyway, that's just one more Dres settlement to take for us. And the Argonians on the map look like they're really struggling. The Dres are pushing really far into their territory here. But the Dres are not actually at war with the Argonians, so it must be that the Horde of Oblivion moved down and took that Argonian city, and then the Dres just took it off the remnants of the Horde of Oblivion. I imagine that's how it must have gone. So these forces, these armies, they've not challenged Dagoth directly. It looks like they're trying to run past him and attack Muthas. But I'm not really convinced that they have anything capable of taking Muthas. No, they don't. So I think Dagoth is just going to completely ignore them and take Muthnar, like this turn. No point in launching a night attack, since that just gives the enemy an advantage. This is a large but pretty poor force. They do have Dres cavalry. I think the cavalry is pretty good. Yeah, 1918. So their cavalry is not bad. They do have 1 unit of slave hunters, but most of them are just militia. This is just the Battle of the Dreadlords here. Dagoth Lord of Terror, full dread, versus Lord Sendis the Malevolent, full dread. This is some kind of weird settlement. I think this is the same kind as before. Yeah, uh-oh. Ooh, this might not be good for them. Because this means I can put the Ashbond I can actually deploy right up here on the hill. I can put my Ashbond right up here on the hill and fire down on them if I want. But I do wonder whether that's actually advantageous for us. I wonder if it wouldn't be better. Well, it would probably be nice to deploy down here, actually. Because then my Ashbond have a nice down or like sloping path to fire at and hit more people, but I can't actually deploy on that side. I can only deploy on this side of the mountain, and I don't really feel like walking all the way around, so I guess I'm just going to do the stand up here and fire down on them strategy. Oh, yep, this is my life now, just kind of sitting up here. They're just going to deploy their massive blob of forces down there. It's just kind of cool looking down on them from here. But anyways, I suppose I should probably start marching my foot soldiers around towards the front here. There we go. Meanwhile, not you. You stay. And ballistas, you stay. Everyone else moves to the edge of the cliff, and we can start firing down. It is such a long way down here that after I click, it takes like 5 to 10 seconds for them to actually pathfind their way and then start moving. We've got our ballista in a nice position here that perfectly obeys the laws of gravity. We just kind of super glued it to the edge of the cliff. Meanwhile, our Ashbon are all killing themselves. And there goes the enemy general. Alright, I could basically just retreat right now and I'd be, it'd be a victory, but let's kill as many as possible. So these ballistas are just kind of systematically executing their own men. I don't know that I've ever seen this before. Here goes the other guy. Okay, just stand in front of there. Okay, we're making blood sacrifices. Dagoth. Alright, you get shot. Next guy. Who's the next? Next guy, run up, please. Yep, next. You're next. Get up there. Next blood sacrifice. Dagoth. There we go. Well, I left to eat a snack and came back, and it looks like my troops are just now finally arriving at the entrance. I guess I'll send the ash zombies up the hill first, since they're the fastest. Everyone else can kind of follow along. There we go. And I want the ash zombies to chase down these archers and prevent them from coming down and firing down the hill, because that could cause a lot of damage. Yep, they're responding to our presence, so it's finally time to go and attack. We'll set us to run. This is just a massive clump of missile units. They are moving in more missile units to support. That's a good strategy, I guess. Our first Ashbon get into combat with these archer militias. And these guys will flank around the side, hopefully. No, don't go that way. Yes, little. Just micromanage them around the edge here. One of them is routing already. And you can just, I guess, attack right into there. That seems like a good option. And these guys, I guess you just stay here in reserve. There's nowhere they can really go right now. I don't feel any need to put them into close quarters combat with some Dres light infantry. And again, they are getting pelted by archers in the back, and that's not cool. So maybe I just hurl them in to just add more weight to this and push through the archers as quickly as possible. Get them all in melee combat. And they're actually routing. Excellent. And the fun thing about ash zombies is it's very difficult to rout from them because they're quite fast. Meanwhile, our professional troops are just arriving to the top of the hill. Is Dagoth running? No, they're just kind of walking. They're just going casually. They got this under control. Like they're all going to fall back to the infinite morale last stand zone and try and hold out there. Meanwhile, we finally get to use this Squar cavalry again. It's been a while. Let's see how they perform. This is just light infantry. That was supposed to be a charge, but it was not. They did not even get the charge off. Not a good start, guys. Meanwhile, we complete the flank, and Dagoth's personal guards are pushing up here because they want a part of the combat as well. And here they come, the vanguard, just trying to hit some spear militia because they can. They're bullies like that. It's very important that whenever Dagoth enters the fray, he leads the forces himself. Maybe not so much for the troops as for himself. He needs to feel that he's a leader by example. He needs to continue to push himself to be the leader that he wishes all the other world leaders were. By the way, I only see one Dagoth I don't see his clone. Where is his body double? Oh, there he is. He's back here. I don't know which is the real one. And these 2 hit point units are awful fun when they're on your side and not the enemy's side. This is the time when the Dres really start to feel that their empire is crumbling. Dagoth after all this waiting, brings the full force of his armies to bear on Muth-Nar, the first in the long line, hopefully, of Dres cities that are going to fall to this onslaught, this tidal wave. Even the elite Dres, the slave hunters, are no match for Dagoth force. They just tear through them, even in melee combat, their specialty. It goes 1-to-1, a Dres slave hunter with one of Dagoth bodyguards. He's even getting some help from militiamen. Ooh, he actually manages to win. That might be the first one. That's the first. That's the first of Dagoth bodyguard to fall. But here comes some more. Quick to get vengeance. Oh, and he just kind of psychic stabs him there. His sword, he has a special magical sword that's actually longer than it looks. The archers, the militia archers, just to feel like they're doing something. There's nowhere to run anymore. They just fire arrows randomly into the air. They just see an endless horde in front of them and feel like if I fire into the air, the arrow will come down eventually. It will hit the earth, and on that earth, there's going to be an enemy soldier because they're just that numerous. The last of the Dres holdouts are beset upon all sides. Their leader was the first to fall, and they have no guidance anymore. Maybe this guy is the leader. He's just kind of standing casually in the back. He's accepted his fate. Maybe they'll even jump down this massive pit into this pool of lava or whatever it is. Somehow the enemy army is fleeing the field, even though I thought they were in their infinite morale zone. We must have pushed them out. Anyways, end battle, we victory. We actually lost another bodyguard. I wonder if we recovered them. But yeah, these bodyguards are just super strong. Dagoth's personal unit is incredibly strong, especially since I think it revives itself. It's only a clear victory, but I figure that's just because I had like Ashbond shooting themselves in the back and the ballistas that were just executing their own men for no reason. I did tell them to cut that out, by the way, even though it was amusing. See, like 2 casualties sustained and 176 casualties inflicted for an infantry unit. That is incredible. They just like run into they run into actual hand-on-hand combat and they come out with those kinds of results. That's insane. Not to mention they were actually fighting against some of the strongest units. They were fighting against the slave hunters. Your target has died. You are no longer required to assassinate him. Well, does this count as an assassination? I feel like it kind of should. We can actually just occupy this place because it's so heavily in favor of Dagoth already. We've been prepping this moment for a long time. Now, what do we have? We're going to throw up this Altar of Visions, because why would we not? We can retrain all of these ballistic crews that kind of just executed their own people. Dagoth's retinue expands. He gains a Dread Knight. That so dread and dangerous a knight would follow this man says a lot about his own menace and capabilities in battle. +2 dread, +1 command. As if he didn't have enough already. He was already maxed. Now, it's been a long time, but I'm pretty sure you can, like, drag and drop one general's retinue to other generals, can't you? So I wonder if Lord Dagoth isn't time for him to start thinking about having an apprentice follow him around so that he can pass on his all these like extra things like a Dread Knight that he does not need. Well, then again, what happened to his command? How did his command fall below the normal? He was maxed before. I don't know what's happening. Anyhow, that aside, Muthnar falls, and the Dres lose a large chunk of their territory. Next, Thyr. Grandmaster Odron is getting very, very worried at this point. He is next on the list. He may have escaped the assassination attempts, but he's not quite so convinced that he has the forces to escape a trial by arms. Meanwhile, Dagoth Gear, still alive, still prepared to open the gates, he might be facing renewed scrutiny right now, as the paranoid Odron the Builder starts carefully scanning all of his gatehouses to make sure everything is in order. He's got to set up his defenses very quickly, and if he catches Gear, it's going to be all over. Meanwhile, these two forward forces of the Dres, Captain Alorel and Captain Ilandris, they just kind of look at each other in shock as Dagoth's forces march straight in between them, ignore them completely, just to steamroll Muthnar. And they look behind them, and they see the smoke rising on the horizon from where Muthnar used to be. So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do next turn. Are they going to continue their campaign on Muthas, or will they realize the dire situation and retreat back to reinforce their territories in the south? Meanwhile, Dagoth Fals, the unappreciated, is prepared to launch his siege on Heimlin. It's time. Let's launch the assault. Forces of Oblivion. Poor General Droid is just looking on from behind, helpless. Maybe he's cheering us on at this point. He finally gets to see the fall of Grand Master Ephen. He's the only one in this territory. All of his men have abandoned him. They know what he did. They know he signed that deal with the Daedra. The Daedra knows too. He's looking on. It's over for him. His men won't come to save him now. Here, hidden behind these massive walls, is Ephen, just cowering here. I'm surprised he didn't actually just deploy way back here. But he did deploy in the front line, so I'll give him credit for that. Even though he's not on the walls. But I mean, what can he do? He could just stand up here and get shot. I don't know. He has no options, really. There's our Dreamer warriors. I'm surprised they didn't open the gates. But I guess there's just no one here to even open the gates at this point anyways. Everybody except his personal retinue has just left Lord Ephen on his own. So there's nobody to defend the walls. There's nobody to defend the gates. And this might actually serve as kind of a propaganda victory for Dagoth in the coming war against the Hlalu. The Hlalulians might be a little bit more eager to join the forces of Dagoth once they realize how much more honorable we are than their own leaders. Maybe I gave Lord Ephen a little bit too much credit. Maybe he just didn't even realize he was under attack. He was just so distraught. He was so self-absorbed, wandering his town, wondering where everyone went. He didn't even realize that they left him. He was just so... maybe he lives his life up in his castle here. And he was just so detached from his people that he didn't even realize that they all fled the city and left him behind to die. And he's wandering around the streets yelling for his guards, yelling for the men to get on the walls, but he doesn't know that they're not there anymore. So now he's finally fleeing. He realizes there's no one here. He's panicking now. He's going to flee back to the city center and just try and hide behind the walls, pretend that the jaws of Dagoth are not closing in around him. He's like going to flee into his castle here. Maybe where's his nice where's his Nero balcony? Maybe like somewhere up here. It's like on this castle tower. Maybe around here, right here. I think this looks like a good balcony. This is like his favorite place. He just stands out here and he plays the violin as he watches his city burn. And he probably would have burned his own city too, had he the men to spare to do it. But he can't. I may have slightly done the stupid here, where I used all of my ladders on this outer wall. I didn't realize that you cannot take them back after you put them up against a wall. They're just there permanently. So now I can't use ladders. I would have liked to just put some ladders up here and avoid this frontal tower position, but I guess I can't do that. Oh, where's my battering ram? I guess I'll just send that up. Our Ashspawn have taken positions on the far walls, just kind of lob fireballs over at them here. Can they hit them? I'm not sure whether that's actually a possibility or not, but it's worth a try. Oh yeah, they got hit. One of them's down, and then they started running around in circles. Well, isn't that just appropriate and to be expected? Chickens act like chickens, after all. It's like his personal retinue. Ephen's personal retinue is coming up to man these defenses as the gate, or there's the battering ram approaches their gate. Yeah, that's unfortunate. They're going to deal some casualties there. Hopefully it doesn't destroy the battering ram. That would actually be very bad for us. Oh, they're actually going to go outside the gate. Oh, so it looks like his bodyguard have decided to leave him behind in his tower as well. They're going to go out and go in a blaze of glory even without him. No, they had to do their honorable duty to defend Ephen as they were sworn to do until the end, but they're not going to go out cowering inside these walls. As Dagoth Fal's personal men join the fray as well, it looks like it's all over for his bodyguards. But they knew that in the first place coming into this fight. They just want to go out with honor. When Dagoth Fal's finally claimed his inevitable victory, Lord Ephen was nowhere to be seen. Ephen's personal retinue maybe let a couple of Dagoth Fal's men accidentally, quote-unquote, slip by into Ephen's personal palace. And as the last of them fought to their last breath here in the city square, somewhere behind them they heard a scream, and Grandmaster Ephen had fallen. He fell from the balcony, and there was with a metallic splat. His armor flattened against the concrete pavement. I say concrete pavement, is that even a thing? And then from where Lord Ephen had fallen from, Dagoth Fal raises his bloodied sword in victory, as he just stands here on the balcony on its tower, looking down at the rest of his men clearing up the last of Ephen's forces. Dagoth Fal claims a clear victory and takes Heimlin. Like, the real victory here is that Grandmaster Ephen the Snake is finally dead. His bodyguard put up a valiant fight here against our men, killing 14 of us. But, yeah, that's a sacrifice that will go down, probably in the history books. I think the poets will talk about that one for a long time to come. And I think when they sing about this, they'll sing about the day that the Hlalu were finally liberated. So I think we'll just occupy this settlement and allow all those villagers, all those people who fled from Ephen the Terrible's, Ephen the Snake's treacherous reign, we're going to allow them to come back into the city now if they so choose. We'll just occupy the settlement. And with Ephen, the last Grandmaster of House Hlalu falls. It's gone. All the men, they're done. They're done with Hlalu. They've realized how dishonorable their leading houses were, and the remnants have just kind of decided to go their own ways. They're just going to live on their own. They've developed their own leadership hierarchies for each of their individual cities. Kraganmore is now... Who is this? I thought there was a leader here, but maybe they just kind of overthrew him, threw him to the wolves because he had served Lord Ephen. I don't know. I don't actually remember if there was a leader there. I thought there was. But yeah, that's just militia now. So House Hlalu has been destroyed. They are gone for good. At this point, it's just a matter of Dagoth Ur's men mopping up the rest of this territory and bringing it all under his rightful rule. And at this point, I see no problem in making this deal for Silgrad as soon as... I have this force right here. Well, they're going to have to keep marching on these rebel territories, I think. It might be a little bit too soon. I'm going to send some priests into Silgrad here and start converting the population to Dreamers, so that once I make this deal to have Silgrad, or to buy Silgrad from the Skyrim, once I make that deal, they're not just going to rebel right away. And Dagoth Vals appropriately gains some chivalry for that act, finally putting an end to the life of that traitorous Daedra worshipper. But he also gains dread, which is weird. Anyways, with that, there's now no longer any organized resistance to our approach in the west. It is a little bit of a race. I don't want Skyrim coming down and grabbing these territories before we can. So we are still in a little bit of a rush to claim these places. But besides that, there's no longer any immediate threat from the west. Now we just have to face the Drez. Well, the nobles, my Council of Dreamers, would like me to take Kraganmore. That seems eminently reasonable to me. In faction announcements, Dagoth Felmis gets some fine armor. Ooh, that's kind of nice. I assume that's because I just completed an armory in East Felmis or something like that. Either way, this seems like a good opportunity. Let's see if I can't take Felmis, deliver him, have him, make a little pilgrimage over here to Ebonheart Castle and give that armor over to, Rather. The Drez seem to have consolidated a large amount of their forces right outside of Muthnar, so I guess let's just send Dagoth out to take them while they have the opportunity to do so. It's not a bad force, but not really a particularly good one either. We've approached their hill, and I believe our ballista are now firing. Ashbon have already done as much as they can. Just kind of standard surround tactics here. Just kind of a mass rout already. Nice and easy. And since we have Ash zombies, running is sort of impossible. Clear victory, and Lord Dagoth gets a new name, the Cunning. Rip all of these people. Unfortunately, everyone just needs to retreat right back inside of Muthnar after that, because we don't have the forces to both attack Thir and defend Muthnar at once. I can build some watchtowers, though. That is something that I can do. Meanwhile, I'm just going to be moving Fals straight on to continue the campaign against the, former Hlalu city-states, I guess these are. The heart of the Hlalulian people may be ours after that whole Ephen fiasco, but they're still not going to go down without a fight. We've still got some military remnants here. And this is a bit worrying. Moving my sleepers into Silgrad territory, I notice there's another Horde of Oblivion up here, kind of harassing the Skyrim forces. It must have just appeared because they have not responded to it yet. This one is commanded by a General Ortha. Or is it Orthy? I'm going to call it Orthy. General Dorothy. And I think it's finally time for this witch to go down. Do your job, Irvin. Does it. Mission success. Okay, so it was worth bringing him along. Well, I think that's it for now. The traitorous Lord Ephen the Snake in Heimlin is fallen, and with him, House Hlalu is shattered. In its place have risen several small militarized city-states from which Dagoth must now liberate the people. Progress in the north is slow but steady. Being an isolated region, the dreams of Dagoth have only just started to arrive in Solstheim, but I have faith that the Skull will see the light soon enough. And in fact, we've already managed to recruit a couple members of their tribes just to show our goodwill. Blacklight is ours, and with it we now have an official land border with Skyrim. And that could be a cause for celebration or for concern. Time will tell. The city of Muthnar has fallen to Dagoth and with that, his slow tide ebbs ever closer to Thir, the Drez capital. The Daedric army in the south has mysteriously vanished, and now the Drez looks like they're eyeing the Argonians. There might be a declaration of war sometime soon. But that force has been replaced by another Daedric force here in the north, which just popped out of nowhere and now threatens the Skyrim city of Silgrad, which we hope to get through diplomatic means. Meanwhile, here in Vardenfell, wannabe Greenhorn generals Rather and up here Vorin prepare to launch their own conquest. A campaign all the way to the Imperial capital to prove their self-worth and kind of silence the mockery of their peers. So there's a lot to look forward to, and in the next episode I click this shiny little button here in the bottom right and flip my turn over to turn 100. It's a red letter day indeed. I'll see you then.